CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. There he is, folks. It's Bryan Bieschke. He's been on before. If you're not able to see, you're about to hear him. And we're just going to jump into some random topics. It's been a while since Bryan's been on CMMS Radio, and he's a staple around here, man. He's a regular. So, Bryan, welcome back to CMMS Radio, brother.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it, man. I just wanted to catch up. You and I talk on the phone all the time, and, busy upkeep stuff and running around and Tommy and kids and just trying to keep the wheels on. So if I can come over and chat for a little bit, definitely would like to do that.
So you and I, obviously hung out at Reliable Plant this year again, just like last year, had a blast. It was even better this year in that not just the conference itself, but our panel discussion. Our goal was to see if we could fill the room, and we had standing room only. And that's not a brag, folks. What it is it tells you something about everyone is hungry for what's the right way, what really matters. And what we were doing in that panel was getting beyond the buzzwords into the practical ways you can leverage CMMS. It's a tool. It doesn't matter which one it really is. And I think what I wanted to ask about on that, Bryan, was what was one of your central takeaways from the panel discussion? And before you even answer, I guess I'll tell you mine was after the panel, how many people were huddled up and asking all these same great questions because we ran out of time as usual. Tell me what your thoughts were after the panel. Like, what kind of feedback were you getting? What kind of questions were you getting? What kind of things were people saying were helpful?
Yeah, I think there's two things, right? One was how refreshing it was for people, like a bunch of people, to come up and be like, thank you for saying stuff that's like, not just me, I'm talking about everybody on the panel, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying things that are rooted in reality. Thank you for saying things that are actually actionable. Thank you for saying things that I can go and do right now. Or thank you for something that I can go and talk to my boss about. Or that was a great idea to do this one thing. I think that was a huge one. And then just the general, just interest. We had a lot of questions, so much so, as you said, that we couldn't even finish, right? We had to take it offline. You had a group around you. I had a group. Alex Bowen had a group. Andy had a group. Trent had a group. There's people, people wanted to get those questions out. And like, look, we don't have all the answers, right? But, having these perspectives and varying skill sets and experience levels and all that, just sitting in one area, right? You're able to bounce these questions off. You're able to get different takes, right? And we're not saying one is right or other is wrong, but it's about aggregating all this information or data from experience and reality and taking it and trying to make informed good decisions or processes or leadership actions or whatever. So I think it was great that people actually wanted to hear about things that you can do and not just digital transformation, AI excellence, IoT, AI magic, like
That's we got really that's one of the things I love about the Reliable Plant Conference is there seems to be a difference in how people engage. And we got really lucky on the panel where when it ended, we had a 30-minute break before the next kind of stuff was happening. And that created an extra opportunity. Yeah. And that made a real impact. And then the conversations continued.
Yes.
For the remainder of the conference, where I know people were coming up to you. Some people came up to me. They're talking about the same questions. And the real takeaway for why that room was full, why people were so engaged, is they're not getting the right kind of guidance out there, because one of the central themes that we always come back to is that companies out there, practitioners out there, don't all make an effort to actually understand the client. So I want to ask you about that particular thing, because I wonder if somebody hears it from you, if they can incorporate that into what they do. Is there a way to guide someone on how to better understand their client if they're trying to help them, or maybe a few things that they shouldn't be doing that they've been doing, like trying to change their business model?
um, yeah, so there is, right? And I think one of the most important things you can do, and I'm going to speak from two standpoints, right? The first standpoint is if you are the person who's trying to investigate, understand a business, and you have never done that work or know about that business, be humble. Say, I don't know. Do your research. Ask them a ton of questions. Ask them to elaborate and explain. Look, like in the process, you're going to show that you're actually interested in learning, right? And you're going to build a relationship with that person, right? And you're going to have this vulnerability with them. So they go, oh, this guy's not trying to pretend to be somebody that he's not. Okay, yeah, I can help him guide. I can guide him, and he's going to guide me, right? He knows about his thing, and I know about my thing, and we're going to mutually come together and understand, right? So, just if you don't know, shut up. Ask questions. Don't say you do. Just stop talking about things that are just big generalized things, and like everybody knows that stuff. It's not you're not like special. Like we all know these things, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know, be humble. Ask questions. Build a relationship, let them teach you things, research. I've had people from CMMS companies, our competitors, call my cell phone and try to sell me a CMMS because they found me on a website.
They didn't do any research.
Talk about not doing any research. They had no idea that I worked for a CMMS company and have been implementing CMMSs for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say what company it was because it would make them look so ridiculous, but I'm not going to. So the other side of that is if you are an industry professional, right, and you do happen to have the experience and know the ins and outs, leverage that experience with the entire organizational team, right? So if you're working with the maintenance manager and you're trying to implement or talk, say, hey, can you bring your lead man in one of these days so we can talk with him as well? Hey, can you bring the supervisor in so we can talk with him? Can we talk to the parts guy, the procurement, you're the person who deals with your accounting and you're trying to do a balance sheet for your maintenance spares, right? So leverage your experience to do the 360 for that client because they may not know the questions to ask, right?
That's a good point.
We say this all the time. You don't know what you don't know, right? So a perfect example, I know a lot about building a condition monitoring program, okay? But I'm not an expert like Matt Knuth in vibration. Can I build a vibration route? Yes. But do I know the intricacies of the sensor, what it's telling you? Like I have a very rudimentary understanding for that. But that's what I mean. I'm using that as an example, right? So like if I'm consulting for a customer and we're building an awesome maintenance plan and they have good maturity, they're doing the right things, all their PMs are directed at failure modes, they're utilizing resources correctly, they want to start talking about going to condition monitoring. Perfect. Let's talk about the structure surrounding that condition monitoring program, how it affects the business, the criticality, the avoidance of cost, all that stuff. And then I'm going to bring in somebody who's going to ask all those other questions and have that other set of expertise that I am not going to know or know when to ask or how to whatever, right? So it's the same thing. I'm an experienced person going and talking to a customer. I need to leverage my experience for that 360 for them. I'm not going to leverage my experience to tell them everything they're doing wrong. I'm going to say, hey, A, B, C, and D has worked. Oh, great question. Okay, but this is where that kind of falls into this thing. But if you go this way, then it may have this implication on your production capacity, right? So there's like all these things. You can create this big picture for them. So if you don't know what you're talking about, ask questions. Be humble. Say you don't know. Work with the team to build that understanding and then leverage your system. If you do know, then you need to have the right questions to ask to fill the 360 for them because they don't know what they don't know. And you're able to probe. It's like being a lawyer, right? You want to pull something out of the witness and get them to say something so you can be like, oh, I know what that is. We can help you with that.
Yeah.
And listen to words. Like this may sound weird, but like I'm always, when people are talking, I'm listening to the words that they choose. Like specific words. I'm trying to think of an example, but like sometimes people say something like, oh, we have low reliability. And I'm thinking, what does low reliability mean? Like, what does that mean? And I would ask them, what does that mean to you? Then you come to find out it's not reliability, it's availability that they're struggling with, right? So, like, that may be a poor example, whatever, I don't care. But like, you have to use those words to start leveraging those questions because what it means to you maybe means something. Oh, I know what the example was. I use an example from today. So I'm installing, not today, this weekend, I'm installing a constant water pressure system in my home. Okay. So if anybody doesn't know what that is, like normal, I'm on a well. I live in the country, right? Water's pumped out of my well. I have a submersible pump. It goes through a pipe and into a uh, well tank, right? That has a pressurized bladder on top and it maintains a head, a pressure on the system, right? To keep water pressure. So the pump kicks on from a low and high pressure switch. So when that low pressure switch, goes below 40 PSI, the pump kicks on, fills the tank, right? Which creates a head pressure by pushing against that bladder. And then when it goes down, when it goes up to 60 PSI, it cuts off and then it goes to 40, right? So this, I'm getting, I swear I'm getting somewhere. So I go to the supply house to get all these parts. So constant pressure is you eliminate that tank and that diaphragm pump, and you're using a VFD to cycle your well pump. So when it uses a pressure transducer, when it sees those dips in pressure, it maintains a constant pressure in the system. So you don't have to have the tank, right? Well, I get to the counter and I'm talking to the parts person and I go, hey, I'd like to check out the Pentair VFDs. They go, what's a VFD?
Whoa.
And I go, it's the controller for constant pressure system. Once I said controller for constant pressure system, they go, oh, you mean the PID?
Yeah.
And I go, yes, the PID is the model of a VFD for Pentair. So you see where language, like you have to.
This is about this idea of listening with intention.
Yes.
When you're asking the questions and you're hearing the answers, it's why we want to do a little less talking, if not a lot less talking, and more listening. Because
sorry for that roundabout example, but
it's a good example because once the convergence takes place of different words, now everybody's on the same page and you can get somewhere. It also helps discover gaps. So if I'm talking to a potential client trying to figure out their CMMS project and I'm asking about how do you do things right now, why do you think you need a CMMS, all these different questions I might ask, I'm listening for different things, including the words that tell me what they do understand and what I might not understand, because the only thing I should be doing is understanding them. And when we figure out what the problem actually is, can we actually solve it?
Yeah.
And when you do that kind of probing approach and you have some curiosity with intention where it's like, oh, what do you mean by that word? Like the kid behind the counter right away said, I don't know what that is.
Yep.
And you didn't turn around and walk away.
No, I literally said motor controller. And he goes, oh, you mean the PID?
Yeah.
And so
different
when I got
language.
Yes. And that's why I think during our, this kind of brings into our talk at Reliable Plant, I made a very strong point to talk about language and the words that you use because it creates continuity in your business. What's the funniest thing about this is when I paid for this thing and I got the receipt, guess what the receipt says?
VFD?
VFD.
Go figure. Well, that brings up a whole nother thing that just popped into my head about organizations in and of themselves. How even with some standardization or lots of standardization, there will be people using different words to describe the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And this is why communication gaps and gaps in what we love to talk about, like maintenance and how that impacts, throughput or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nuanced thing. And you can't get it perfect, but what you can do is you can be aware, you can pay attention, and you can find those clues to say, wait a second, are you actually talking about this? And, that gal might say, oh yeah, that's what I meant. And that's all you got to do.
Together.
That's all it is.
I'll give you an example on language. I used to write a ton of PMs, when I was a maintenance manager for the port. I was always, after we do corrective work, evaluate, whatever, right? I'm always modifying PM. And I changed some of the words that I used in these PMs at one point. Okay. And me being a young leader, I'm like, oh, I know what it means. Like, these guys know what it means, right? So I wrote PMs and I used the term, and everyone on here who listens who's actually done anything is going to know what mechanical looseness is. Okay. So I used that term, mechanical looseness, in the PMs. And one of the technicians who ended up becoming the senior guy, really good. I wish I could get him on a podcast. Maybe we'll work on that. But he came to me before he did the PM, which was so smart. And he goes, hey, boss, I noticed I was reading through this PM and step 5, whatever, says blah, 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 mechanical looseness. Can you explain to me what mechanical looseness is? I said, I'll do you one better. I'll go show you what mechanical looseness is. So we walked out in the shop. We found some struts on the back. We worked on heavy mining equipment, right? Saw some struts that had some really, really destroyed spherical bearings in the eyelets of the strut. So the strut was just, when it's driving, the strut's just going, it's mechanically loose, right? It's not affixed. It's not it's not how it should be from a mechanical standpoint, right? A loose bolts are mechanical loose. If a base plate is shimmying around, right, that's mechanical looseness. Bearings can have excessive mechanical looseness through wear, all that. And he goes, thanks. And then in that moment, I go, I got 20 mechanics running around here. What if the other ones don't know what that means and they just don't want to say anything to me? So I pulled them all in. And we talked about what these terms, there might have been another term too. I don't remember. Mechanical looseness was the big one. Yeah. Pulled them all in. This is what mechanical looseness looks like. It can be applied to these other 100 things, right? And that's why I use this term, because it's a good big term that describes a lot of different things. Instead of me saying like, something more specific, right?
Yeah.
Now, those specific words come in very specific things. But if we're doing general inspections, right, we're looking for mechanical looseness. We're looking for deflection. We're looking for misalignment, right? So we defined all those terms together as a team. So everyone knew what it looked like and what it was called.
I have a question about that.
I learned that from him because he decided to come to me. So this is a perfect example. You guys don't know stuff? Go ask. Even if you're a manager, you don't know what you're talking about, find out. Stop acting like you know what you're talking about.
A lot of people are afraid that they're looking bad when they ask these questions, and they're actually looking good because they're trying to figure out what the right thing to do next is.
Yeah, leaders do that all the time. It's like, I'm the boss. I can't look like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm the boss. I'm the leader. I'm this. I'm digital transformation. Blah, blah, blah,
just look like you care, and then you're rocking and rolling.
And you, like I said this before, like you have massive opportunities to build relationships with your team. I can't stress that enough. Technicians and people, they love the people who have done the work that they can share, like they can share in that experience with that work, and people who are humble, who are willing to say, Technician A, I have no clue. Let's go look at it. Oh my God, I still have no clue. Do you have a clue? You don't have a clue? Okay, well, we need to figure this out. I'm not going to go, you go figure that out. I'm going to be the boss.
Yeah. We could spin out right here. I want to tie it back to the CMMS for a second. So with all this and paying attention to the words, really trying to understand, being willing to ask questions when you don't know the answers and you're not sure, how, when you're building teams like this or working with clients, how does that translate into the CMMS? And what you already know how to explain this, but I'm asking it in a way that tells other people that might hear this how they get that kind of buy-in and participation in the CMMS that you just described in the interactions with one of your technicians.
Define roles and responsibilities.
So it's really that simple.
Give ownership. People want to do the right thing. People want to be accountable. They want to know that this is what I'm in charge of. This is my pride. This is the thing that I'm doing it. I'm responsible for, and I'm going to take that seriously. I'm going to leverage relationships and technical skills of other people to help me this thing that I have that I'm responsible for. People want that. And if you clearly define those roles and responsibilities and how they interact, like technician based, what does a technician do in a CMMS, right? Define it, standardize it, structure it, have them help you do that so you actually know what is happening and how they interact with the system.
Yeah.
Supervisor, what do they do? How are they interacting with the CMMS in conjunction with interacting with their team? The planner, what's he doing? How's he working with the supervisor to ensure that work is executed correctly and that follow-ups are generated? Okay. Maintenance manager, hey, maintenance manager, roles and responsibilities. I'm the maintenance manager. Roles and responsibilities for me. Okay, I'm going to be consulted and informed, and then my actions or accountability might be for ensuring that schedules are in alignment with operations or whatever. So like the very define responsibilities and roles. But a lot of people don't like to do that because they want everybody to do everything because there's so many fires to be put out at all the time. If you give somebody a defined role, they might just do it. And then when you try to derail them from their defined role, they might go, I thought we were structured. I thought I'm doing this thing. It's like the example of a planner. Everybody loves talking about having a planner. Most places, the planner is just a mechanic who sometimes schedules or sometimes plans work. And nowadays they do both. So they plan and schedule work, right? They don't have separate people really anymore.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's the biggest example I can give you. Everybody's willing, we plan, we schedule. But as minute something happens where it takes away that structure and that schedule or that planning, the planner can do it. He's been a mechanic for 20 years. Send him out there and tear that gearbox out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you as the leader don't define the roles and responsibilities and then hold that discipline, even in the face of adversity, it's always going to be a problem. It's always going to be falling apart. Now, I've been a maintenance manager. I understand there are going to be times where shit happens, right? And it's like, now we're all, I don't know about other maintenance, but even me, I'd be like, now we're all going to go fix this problem. Because that's what it takes. Me too. 1 o'clock in the morning, me too. I will be there because they're going to see me. And then when that job is over and complete, they're going to go, wow, that maintenance manager, he really did come and help us out. He wasn't just calling and texting, hey, what's going on? I need to update the CEO. I'm blah, blah. Like, no, dude, you need to be there.
Yeah. And everybody's thinking, we took care of that shit, not I took care of that shit.
Correct.
Now you've got that other kind of secret sauce where there's team cohesion, even if you're not like buddy, but you're all aligned. It's like, think of it like firefighters.
It's shared adversity.
Yeah.
It's mutual suck. That's why people in the military understand that really, really well. And they build these extreme bonds with people. Even I used to be in the Navy with people I didn't even like, but we'd end up doing some evolutions where I'm like, boy, I'm glad you were here.
Yeah.
Now get away from me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's a mutual suck. People want to know that they can see themselves in you at some point.
Well, and it kind of sucks just a little bit less if everybody's sharing it.
Correct.
You know,
we all eat the shit sandwich. All of us are going to take a bite.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the shit sandwich will be gone, and we all didn't have to eat the whole thing at once.
Yeah, those things don't taste good.
No. Just saying, there's a lot of these complicated things that people they build up to these crazy things. Is they're very simple solutions. It's just they're difficult to establish and maintain because it takes. And you hear me? I feel like a broken record. It takes strong leadership. You have to build relationships. You have to be like the salesman of the maintenance team to the rest of the organization.
Yeah.
And you're selling your ability and your team's ability to do the right things at the right time. And you're selling the ability for those other departments to confide in you. So when I say, hey, we're going to complete this job in 4 hours, we do it in 3. And they believe me. And then we continue that process. And then it gets to the point where they don't even question the schedule. They don't even question the work that needs to be done because that all those blocks have been put in place to where they're willing to give me machines in even sometimes in the forfeit of some production, to do the right thing and get ahead in the long run.
Yeah. And all of that has nothing as well as everything to do with the CMMS and being successful and how you're leveraging your platform. Because if you take
It's
that,
all sprinkled in there. Every step of that is the CMMS is going to be a function of all of those things.
yes. But again, we want to remind everyone, we say it all the time, we're going to keep saying it forever, that CMMS is a tool that's designed to work best when you use it properly on teams that have more cohesion, strong foundations of maintenance excellence. They understand what the benefit is to the organization, maybe even to themselves, but most of all to their team and what they're actually there to do. Really good stuff. I want to close out on one thing. I talked to you about it a little bit before we hit record. And, you know, buzzwords and all that, we don't love them. We know that some of them have some hidden power, though. And from a practical standpoint, you and I talk about AI, which is machine learning, right? Large language models. We know some of the best people in the industry that really know this stuff. Shout out to Howard Penrose. We've learned about drift. We've learned about hallucinations.
That was crazy. I went down that rabbit hole a bit, and it kind of makes sense where
Yeah,
people are losing their like investigative drive almost because this thing is just.
I call it languidity. It creates laziness of the mind where people won't go with their mind and figure things out. It takes away critical thinking. But I want to make this kind of a positive thing, because a lot of times we're back.
Full disclosure, I use Grok. Like I use it.
Of course.
I ask it shit all the time. I'm just not letting it run my maintenance programs.
We have agreed that it has its uses, but I want to talk in maintenance, in CMMS platforms where we're getting all this great data. What would your view be on the most practical use of what exists today? Not promises of tomorrow, not unicorns and magic silver bullets and all these rainbows, but practical, real. What can machine learning, AI if you want, folks, what can it really do right now that actually works, that actually makes an impact, that doesn't go too far to strip away your involvement?
Yeah. So a couple things I'm not going to say because I'm actively working with Upkeep to figure some of these things out. And our competitors do not have these things, and they haven't even alluded to even talking about them. So I'm not going to bring up, there's two very specific things that I would love to say, but I'm not going to.
We'll leave those out for a big news release later.
But I would say that I'll just generalize because, I do work for Upkeep, and Upkeep is very heavy on the AI stuff right now. Some of it is, generalized things that you or I would be like, whatever. But there are some things that are going to be pretty legit. And the reason, and this is why I'm going to generalize, the reason they're going to be very legit is because they are going to provide action to the things that actually matter for the people who do the work. And the people who do the work are maintenance supervisors, planners, schedulers, technicians, parts procurement specialists, finance people, like whatever, maintenance managers too, to a point. But these are things that are going to impact those people to ensure that they do not lose track of things, that they have continuity, that they can define certain things that then create actions on the back end of other things. So yeah.
All right.
I've had a lot of great meetings with Upkeep's product team, the VP of product engineering, like all super smart people who are really trying to understand. And that's part of the reason why I'm at Upkeep, right? It's because I'm the dummy who has done all this work, and I'm the guy who'd be like, hey, this would be really cool. You know what I mean? And they're like, and they're hyper smart. So they're like, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And then I just start, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. The product and engineering team, all of them at Upkeep are so smart that they'll get on calls with me and I'll ramble about just word salad. And they're like, they take actionable things from my just randomness. And then they'll read it back to me, or we'll talk about it at the next meeting. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly.
So right there, right there is, I've been harping on it for the longest time. When you're providing a product, because I've been in the space where I was a part owner of a company and sitting on that side, but I came from the other side first, where I didn't have technology and I wanted things to work a certain way.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of where you can source your information to bolster up your understanding of what you're building. And one of the primary resources that all of these companies have at their fingertips, essentially, is their clients. And that's a really hard thing for companies to do. Talk to every single client all the time and get their feedback on what needs to be done. It's just really, really hard to do. They try. People try.
You also get niche things that maybe seem more important or bigger than they actually are for the actual industry.
Correct, because now you're talking to a client.
It derails the product roadmap.
It does. It does. Right? And so this is where what you guys are doing is so smart, in that now you have a resource in you for them, and they're putting in all the effort to actually start understanding what really happens.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what's coming from the mind of a guy like Bryan Bieschke, who's done this, also knows that he doesn't know this, or this.
Bingo.
And puts it all together.
Bingo. And then we align them with somebody who does know those things.
Yes.
I wish I could say, I'm not going to, but like, I wish I could say like some of the people that have been integral to that. Right. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know everything. So like when I'm talking to these people, like they know code, they know this, they know that. And I'm like, I'm just blah, 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 blah. And they're like,
yeah. Well, that's what they're supposed to do. And I love that approach. That's another example of what we were already talking about, where it comes to paying attention to the words. They're asking questions, and then they're just letting you go. And they're like, ooh.
And they rephrase. Sometimes I feel like I'm not getting through to them. And they like rephrase the question. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'll say it like this.
That's good.
Really, really good question askers. And they don't even like, and it's not a discredit to them. They don't even really like, some of them don't even really know what I'm really talking about. Right. But they're able to ask the questions in a frame of reference that's meaningful to them for what they're trying to achieve. And they can make all those attributions. Right.
Yeah.
Where me, I'm like, I've said this before to some of them, where I'm like, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff. Bear in mind, I have no idea how this translates to what you're going to do from like a code and like product perspective. They're like, no, don't worry about it. We take care of that. I'm like, okay, good, because I have no answers for you.
Well, and they're doing the same thing. They don't really understand what you.
Good point.
So this is good stuff. Well, look, man, I know it's a busy day. You've been busy the last couple of weeks. Hey, there it is on screen, Captain Unreliability. Captain Unreliability is out there to teach you folks exactly what not to do and how not to be. But we don't crush him. We let him teach us by showing us how not to do things. So shout out to Captain Unreliability and our dear friends at Reliability X. Yes, sir.
Great boys over there. And Angelica.
Angelica too. High integrity, all about the results.
And if you guys ever look at Captain Unreliable, you guys really need to look at the specifics, details of what he has in his hands and on his tool belt. Because if you've spent any time in the facilities, you'll know there are certain names for a lot of these tools. And I can't say them on here.
Yeah. Good stuff. We're going to close out on that. Bryan Bieschke, thanks for being on CMMS Radio once again, brother.
Thanks, Greg.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.